a cohesive team. I thought that was a unicorn, a bit of an illusion.
Confusion is ugly, undermines teamwork and cohesion and kindness by its nature.
My first kick of the cat, if that's the phrase,
kick of the cat.
Was
yeah, I hope you don't
can.
kick the cat. Don't kick the cat. We're animal lovers.
Welcome to the Serious Playfulness podcast, where we explore the work of building healthy, mission-driven organizations that don't suck the life out of you. I'm Kyle.
And I'm Stephanie. And if you secretly dream of a workplace that you actually want to go to, then you're in the right place. Let's get to work.
If you are a leader growing, scaling a business very quickly in multiple countries with young staff who may not know how to dress at a meeting, this one's for you. Stephanie and I have been talking to a potential client, and we're going to obscure and change a lot of details so that we respect confidence and anonymity. But it's a very interesting launching off pad for some lessons in business and organizations and teamwork and cultural expectations around communication. And specifically, the profile is something like this. This is a very quickly growing business, let's say doubling every year their staff count. They're doing very well, but some cracks, some challenges are being exposed by the hyper growth. And one of them is that they are inviting relatively young and relatively inexperienced, good people, good talent into leadership roles, managerial roles, who maybe haven't done it before. And they're also doing this with generally younger people whose habits and frankly etiquette around work is not always the same and not always up to the standards of the less young people, like how to show up on a video call and what you dress as, etc., how you speak professionally. And to make matters more interesting, as I mentioned, they span multiple countries. So changing the details, let's say Canada, head office, staff also in Brazil, and staff also in China. And what's interesting to us there and relevant is the expectations around what good communication and teamwork equals and what relationship to authority equals. I told Steph this story. I was talking with a Brazilian friend recently and helping him draft an email to a potential client for his business. And at the end, I suggested a slight rewrite to asking for a meeting in his email because it was a little bit too open-ended, I thought. So I said, ask him for a 20-minute chat next week. So he wrote, would you be up for a 20? And then he wrote a little, what do we call that, Steph? Apostrophe, the single apostrophe after 20, the number 20. Would you up for a 20 apostrophe meeting next week? And I looked at him after he typed it. He was on his laptop next to me in a cafe. And so I leaned in because I thought maybe that's a speck of dirt on the screen that I'm seeing there or some kind of typo. So I asked him and he said, no, that means 20 minutes. And I said, no, it doesn't. That means 20 feet. We are in Canada, so English. And apparently in Brazil, Portuguese, that equals 20 minutes. And he'd been doing this for a long time, which is hilarious. And we've just been talking about how we don't want to miscommunicate across languages and actually maybe inventing a course on business English for Brazilians. So what's the point is we need to help each other know what is confusing, especially across cultures. So lots to unpack here. So let's imagine if you're listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, I can relate to the cultural communication stuff because this also applies regionally. This applies on different families. We all often live in very multicultural areas. I'm in the Vancouver area, and there's all kinds of people here from all over the world all the time. So you're always kind of living in the United Nations, if you will. But even family backgrounds, right? People's insecurities, color, all this stuff. So there's a lot in the mix. And then you have young people too, who often come from broken backgrounds, which informs their approach to things. So let's jump in. So Steph, if you're a listener and maybe you're a leader or a new leader, or a CEO of a company like this, what's a step that you might take first and why?
That's a good question. I love the Working Genius methodology. It has helped the teams I have led. It helps my family life too, actually. So extra bonus there. I think I would start there. It's a quick win. It's enjoyable. Staff often find it fun and engaging. They can learn to kind of laugh at themselves and each other. So it's a great quick win for understanding workflow, which is the reason we're all together, right? How does work get done? Where do I thrive in that workflow? So I'd probably start there. Across
Yes.
teams, across departments, however the work is divided, look at as this unit that is achieving a task, do a working genius with each team unit and explore it.
Great. And when you're talking do a working genius, we usually do 2, 3, 4 hour things, pretty quick and dirty. And it's really great. Great use of time, high value for sure. And one thing I also thought about there, Steph, is that it can depersonalize the pain points and the relational strain, because it gives language to things that might be frustrating or confusing that's outside of you and your sense of yourself.
Yes.
I had a recent example with a woman who is a galvanizer. And so for those who don't know the model, that's the function and work of pitching and rallying people around moving towards a new thing after a decision's been made. And I'm a galvanizer. Stephanie's not a galvanizer, is a genius. And that's a good contrast with our team. And Dino's not either, nor is Christine. And the person, her enthusiasm, this lady in galvanizing, had been misperceived by a colleague, tragically, as her wanting the spotlight. And the point that was perceived like that was sort of devastating and devastatingly subtle, because the teammate perceiving that was thinking, this person's really in it for themselves, and all these kind of dark assumptions. And the working genius helped them realize that and have it be not such a threatening realization too. And there needed to be an apology in the mix for sure, but it was awesome. So that's an example. And when we're dealing with cultural stuff and developing leadership, it can feel very heavy and personal. So just to add that point, working genius can make it a little bit easier.
Yeah. And let me be more clear for the leader who's wondering, well, why do that? So we've touched on a couple of things, but here are a few other reasons. One, I think in a fast growing organization, it's easy just to throw people at problems, throw people into roles.
Yes.
And because we're growing fast and we just need you to stretch into this capacity or get this job done. Makes perfect sense. We've all been there. A quick exercise like this will help us assess, do we have the right person in the right role? Are they going to thrive there? Or as we're growing, should we pivot and look for a way to leverage this person's geniuses? This is where they shine, leverage it better, because we're going to get better work out of them. They'll enjoy it more. And we'll be able to identify more appropriately the gaps that as we're growing, we could fill. So yeah,
Excellent.
So the opportunity there is insight, self-awareness, some team camaraderie, understanding, but also this operational knowledge of how can we get work done the best way.
Yeah, that's excellent. It makes me think of a LinkedIn post I put recently of a Venn diagram I had sketched. I think it might be in my garbage bin. It is. I haven't checked it yet. Let's just pull this up here after I obscure some information. You see that? So what I put here in a discussion with another client is that there are these overlapping dimensions that are relevant here. You could add here actually a fourth.
Why don't you read it for those who are just audio?
I will. Yeah, of course. No, come on, audio people. Catch up here.
Yeah.
Kidding. I'll put in here leadership ability as a fourth one. So what I am looking at, what I'm showing, are 4 overlapping dimensions that interface in the middle in a Venn diagram fashion. One is leadership or managerial ability. That's the thing. Then you have vision / clarity about the business and the work. Who are we? What are we doing? Kind of the macro questions. Then another circle is relationships and teamwork. What are the quality and the style, etc. of relationships. Then I have operating systems / traction below. What's the mechanism by which we do work and teamwork together? And Working Genius kind of touches on a bunch of those. The point is, it's almost like diagnose the issue in its different dimensions. And we find Working Genius is a really simple way to touch a bunch of those actually in one shot. It's very cool. But do recognize you can't just do a seminar, for example, on how to talk better to your teammates in China, because maybe the format of your meetings is already a problem, which is if kind of upstream of that issue. They're both important.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that's working genius. And then we were talking about how, speaking of the system and the broader clarity, some of what we're trying to help with at the level of the new leadership, which is not executive level, is downstream, of course, by its nature, of the top executive team.
Yeah.
And so if you can, maybe you're in the executive team, maybe you're the leader, great. Look at what is maybe unclear or undefined there that's affecting people downstream. How would you do that? Just do some research, right? Ask your people. Might be uncomfortable, but great feedback. They might say, yeah, we're not really sure on what's expected of us in meetings, or we're not really sure what team I'm on all the time, or who I report to.
Yes.
So work on things at the core if you can, at the core leadership team.
Yes.
And
I'm going to add a couple thoughts there, two of them. One, as a leader, you might be able to diagnose the lack of clarity by observing what questions do I get asked a lot. Questions about what? I think I've delegated these things to people, but they keep coming back to me, and maybe I'm a bit annoyed. That'll be good feedback and will help you diagnose, oh, that actually is probably due to a lack of clarity. So some attention, some time to add clarity and to answer those questions well should reduce the follow-up pestering of questions. So you could use that as a way to explore. And it makes me think of a story of a young man that is in our sphere who has been working. He's been working at a international company. Yeah, it's international, 2 countries, very large company. He's been there for 4 years. And his words were, I don't know what's happening, and I don't know who my boss is.
Perfect. That's perfect.
Yes. This is after 4 years, right?
He doesn't know who his boss is?
No, doesn't know. Like, if he has questions, he doesn't know who he should go to.
What happens when he tries?
He just will try to ask maybe a colleague, someone who seems like on an equal level, but this is wild.
And if he directly asks a person in a higher position, does he get deflected, or what happens?
I think the few times he's tried that, it felt so odd because he was like asking just maybe the wrong department, or they're like, this isn't, you should know this. So
why does he still work there?
I know, that was my advice, actually, that
wow.
It's like, just move on.
Fascinating.
But why this comes to this is, as a leader, looking for the confusion in your team.
Yes.
And tending to that, like you said, courageously. It might be uncomfortable to really dig in and see, oh, they don't understand our strategy, or maybe I don't even know the strategy.
Yeah.
So tend to that.
Yeah. Maybe we don't have one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. And let's talk about the leadership skill. That's another dimension here. Can you actually manage a team and lead a team?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a learnable skill, do you think?
Yes. Yes, I think so.
Do you think
there are skills?
I agree. Go ahead.
The right foundation of a person. And I think of, Lencioni's Humble, Hungry, People Smart. This is important. And then training tools. They actually need to learn. It's like when I learned how to change oil in my car. I didn't know, and now I know. So someone had to teach me that. And can people learn how to, run a performance review? Yes. Can they learn how to run good meetings? Yes. Can they learn how to have healthy conflict and accountability? Yes. Mm-hmm. But if it's never modeled and it's never been taught, then it is a bit reckless to give them the responsibility without adequate training.
Yeah. Or it implies a view of management that we would probably disagree with, which is it can be just something you just kind of do off the side of your desk. Yeah. But people usually do really well with more support and attention, which usually means that the leader needs more time and attention and ability to give that. And I've worked with a lot of groups where a talented person becomes a manager or is asked to do more kind of not informally, but unofficially. Mm-hmm. And just because their job duties haven't been freed up, they can only give 5% of their time to it. And I don't think that's great.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, you need to rethink the structure / the people or the seats the people are in.
Yes. And maybe what you're pointing to there in this case scenario we're looking at is you're growing fast You have someone who's probably thriving in their job, and you have new people coming on. So the very natural response is you manage them,
Right.
right? You will oversee these guys. In a fast growing organization, it's pretty tempting to skip over the tools that they need that were
Yep.
not part of their original,
Yep.
job task.
Yep.
But these managerials, like how to oversee, how to run a good meeting, what is a good meeting?
Yep.
And I was very much in that boat once upon a time, given a role and oversight and not the tools to
Yep.
do that well.
Yeah.
So what do? You kind of wing it. You think,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I'll run a meeting, or I'll try to have a performance review with this team. And we're creating, imagining, inventing some options there, but there are good learnable practices that we can teach our up and coming leadership.
Yeah. I'll plug a book, by the way, that I'm working through right now to help some clients with. I think it's called How to Be a Good Boss by Gino Wickman, the guy behind the EOS system. Very practical. It's only 3 hours on Audible too, so it's great. And one of the things in it that they talk about that's super relevant is, sure, can everyone acquire these skills? Yes, but do they want to? Yeah. I wonder in this situation, actually, and we should give thought to this, have they ensured that all of the people they position there actually want to do that? Mm-hmm. Which presupposes there's been a clear presentation of what the demands are. So actually, can you make a note to make sure we check on that? Thank you.
If leaders want to be leaders, if managers want to be managers.
Yeah, because why some people do it because they've been asked and they're affirmed and honored, and that's great, but it's a little bit dangerous maybe. Mm-hmm. Or they think that they need to keep going up the ladder because of earning needs or ambition, which is maybe not bad, but it's not good enough. You shouldn't be a bad manager just because you needed to make more money. That's terrible for everybody.
Yeah.
And then, do you think, by the way, so that's the desire part. Do you think some people are naturally better at being managers than others, but that everyone can learn it if they want? It's kind of philosophical a little bit. And I can give you my answer before. I think
everyone can learn. Like, let's use the oil change. Everyone can learn to do an oil change on their vehicle. Not everyone wants to do that.
Or is equally as good, nimble at tools, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Or likes the being under a car, which could be.
Yeah.
By the way, I didn't grow up with a super handy. My dad grew up with anyway. My dad didn't teach us a lot of practical stuff, and he did stuff when he was a kid, but he usually hired people to do things. And so I've learned, but I like to learn some stuff. And my dad's amazing, by the way. We tease him about never taking us hunting as boys, and we're totally deprived of all love and human maturity, which is just not entirely true. Fast forward, my son, which was great, had friends who were changing their own oil and fixing their cars. So he wanted to learn some stuff. Awesome. He taught me how to change oil. I'd never done it before. But I told another friend of mine the method we'd use to jack the car up. And we had taken the jacks from both our family vehicles and used them. And my friend was like, "Are you joking? Those are really not stable." We're talking the little guys, right? That are just with the spare tire.
And then you put your body underneath it.
You put your body underneath it, and you're cranking on the filter, right? Yeah, I didn't know that. Now I do, so I won't do that again. Thanks for listening, internet.
Yeah, Kyle's not here for the next podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
Somebody check posthumously. Is that the word? Posthumously? I don't know. Hummus is food. My insurance policy, and tell my wife where to find it,
Yes, good call.
Okay, where were we? So, the skill thing. I think just really simply, can you learn? Yeah, there's also how patient can you be in helping a person who's less naturally inclined to fixing the oil learn it? Because maybe you don't have 3 months or 6 months. Yeah. And I wanted to stress this too. I think the mechanism of training ideally should be a mentorship apprenticeship model, not just taking a course from Stephanie. That should supplement and support the mentorship model. So that needs to be baked into how you run things. Could you also make a note, Stephanie? We don't want to not have them do mentorship. I'm being serious.
Actually, I already have that on.
Fantastic. You're the best. For obvious reasons, right? The best and most important things must be learned by shadowing, getting feedback, spending lots of time. Also giving a person like small chances to try and then fail a little bit in a low risk environment. So maybe you do performance reviews, watching someone, And then after you've watched a couple, watch someone that knows how to do it well. Then you lead one with them helping you, or you do it together, and then they pass it off to you and they watch you, and then you do it alone, and then you can teach others, right? That whole kind of multiplying yourself model. Let's talk about the communication stuff as our last piece here. I mentioned the Brazilian thing. I think the solution is just to get very concrete. Here are the 5 things, and you could maybe survey your team to figure out what the 5 things are. The 5 things that are causing confusion or frustration. And it might be expectations around things like responsiveness to different modes of communication. What does a text message mean from a colleague at 5:30 p.m. to a Chinese person in China working there compared to a Canadian or American? Might be different. So let's just talk about it. And I think when you uncover and talk about it, do it in a lighthearted way. Have some fun with it, so it's not so personal. And it could just be a lot of fun. Like my friend and I, about the 20 feet meeting, we laughed a lot, right? It was hilarious. And he will never forget it, nor will I, because it was just fun.
Yeah.
So do fun, and the learning will stick better. It'll be easier.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in summary, thank you for asking, Internet. We're very happy you asked us this question. And it is fantastic, joking aside, to develop leaders as managers, because what a cool investment in the future of your workforce and in just a person, right? Because if they leave you, they're going off with more skills and they'll think kindly of you forever. And that's good for the world and them and you. But also, it's a great way. It's the only way to scale your business in terms of the people component. You have to scale. You have to be investing always in people's capacity to do more and lead more. But it needs to be where they want to be and where they're capable of being, and with supports that you're capable of executing wisely. And if you can't, then you might have to slow down your growth or hire 10 Kyles and Stephanies if you can find them. But I don't know if they exist because we're just so funny.
That's right. And Kyle's accident with the oil change. So now it's just Stephanie.
It's true. Yeah. So you need 20 Stephanies. Good luck. Thanks.